Hello.
Hi, everyone.
So, some of you are probably sitting in your house right now and you're thinking to yourself,
Self.
I got this house that's worth a fortune, but what good is it doing me? If I sell it, buy something else in my same area, I'm in the same position I was before. So, you might be thinking to yourself,
Self.
I should think about moving somewhere else, maybe even out to the Maritimes. So, you do a little research. And you stumble upon our channel, which is called We Love St. John. And you think to yourself,
Self. Sorry, missed my cue.
if I'm going to move to the Maritimes, I probably should move to St. John because there's nowhere else that's any better in the Maritimes, right?
Right.
Halifax too big, Charlottetown too small, Moncton is just Calgary of the East, and then there's Fredericton, yeah, that's nice. But St. John's the best because we have the ocean here. So you looked at our channel, you thought, oh, these people know what they're talking about. So you've watched now all 136 of our published videos. Hopefully you've watched them twice. And you said to yourself, that's it. Les and Wendy, they've convinced me I'm going to move to St. John. Who do I call when I get there? I don't know anybody there. I need a realtor I can trust. So we got you covered there too.
I just obtained my realtor license through Royal LePage Atlantic. So
there you go. You've
yeah.
watched 136 of our videos. You now love St. John. You've got a realtor that you can trust when you come here. And so what else do you need to know? Probably nothing, right? And we can end the video? Not so quick.
We have one question that's asked so many times, right?
Yes, we do. So last week, even though most of you didn't watch it, you will eventually. We did our frequently asked questions video, and the number one question we get asked all the time on this channel is about property taxes.
Yes.
Very, very exciting stuff. That's probably why we've put it off, but the question comes up more and more. So today we're going to talk to you about property taxes in St. John. Right?
Right.
Okay. So, St. John has amongst the highest property tax rates in the country. So you probably shouldn't move here.
No,
That's not true?
Well, no, you should move here.
Yeah.
That's true.
You should move here. And it is true that we have among the highest property tax rates in the country. But what does a property tax rate actually mean? A rate is not the same as property tax dollars. It's based on the assessed value of your home. And, well, while St. John has among the highest property tax rates, it also has among the lowest property values and assessed values in the country of most cities. Now, a little disclaimer, any numbers we talk about are approximate because nobody wants to hear to multiple decimal points. And everything we say is strictly an opinion. You should definitely do your own research. But when we moved out here, we got the usual negativity that exists around St. John sometimes from certain vocal, but the minority of residents here. So yes, our tax rate, now I'm going to compare it to where we came from, BC, because that's where our familiarity is. But use it and compare it to the taxes in the city that you're from. So in St. John, the property tax rate is approximately, for 2021, approximately $1.78 per $100 of assessed value. Or in the terms that I use, about 1.8%. That is if you are using the property as a primary residence. It's much higher if you're looking to invest or if you're looking for a vacation home. If the home here is not your primary residence, you'll pay closer to 3% of your assessed value yearly in property taxes. So how does that compare? So the last city that we lived in BC was Abbotsford. and their property tax rate is approximately half of 1% instead of the 1.8% we have here. So that means, a little simple math, the property tax rate here is over triple what it was in the city we were from. Now, if you look at Vancouver itself, their property tax rate is even lower at 0.3%. So that means that our taxes here are 6 times higher than they were in Vancouver. Where the reality of that comes in is that the average price of a home in Vancouver is $1.7 million. So yeah, 0.3% seems really low until you apply it to $1.7 million.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, so 1.8% here seems really high until you apply it to the average home price in St. John, which is currently about $275,000. So our tax rate is 6 times higher, but our property assessed values are about 6 times lower. So it evens out. And where this became really interesting is, for some reason, when we did a video of Drury Cove, there was a townhouse we drove by in there, and it was beautiful.
Oh, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, and we had 2 people, like a couple months apart, comment, "Oh yeah, that house looks beautiful." But I looked it up, and the property taxes are $7,000 on a $400,000 place. And one guy said, "That's more than I would pay on a $1.5 million house in Vancouver." And he's absolutely right. Problem is, this townhouse is $400,000 here in Drury Cove, overlooking the river. You can't get that for $1.5 million in Vancouver. I looked, and there's nothing similar. Even remotely similar, you're looking at $2 million and up. So even then, our property taxes are probably a little bit higher than what they should be. Now, why is that? 2 reasons. One, we are not the size of Vancouver. We have a smaller population base to draw taxes from. City needs to operate.
Which is the most appealing part about St. John, because it is a small city with big city amenities. And so that is a draw to St. John for us.
And one of our frequent viewers, Andrew and Jeff, they commented about that. You have a certain quality of life advantage that is here. So if your taxes are a little higher, you got to weigh the pros and the cons. But the other reason for that is that in most cities, especially in BC, where we're from, the onus to pay most of the taxes that pay for government services and municipal government services, the onus on that is given to business. In New Brunswick and St. John, the onus of that is put onto residents. There are, unfortunately, businesses here who have a whole lot of pull within the political establishment, both municipal and provincial in New Brunswick. So yes, we do pay higher property taxes.
But that also draws businesses into the province as well. And right now we're seeing that happen. So there is an upside to that as well, creating more jobs and, feeding into the economy and stuff. So
yeah, we're seeing exponential growth here.
For sure.
Not just in businesses, but there's now home building going on here. Mm-hmm. There are you people who are sitting on your couch watching us. Eventually you're going to move here.
Don't fight it. Just come on over.
As a matter of fact, this is a little sidetrack, but I've created my own acronym. And I'm calling it the M.E.T.H.O.D movement.
The M.E.T.H.O.D. I can't wait to hear this.
And M.E.T.H.O.D stands for Move East to Happiness One Day. So you're all going to move east to happiness one day. The day that is what we have to decide for you. So you think about that. This is the M.E.T.H.O.D movement. And when it becomes huge and goes viral, you'll know where it started. All right, let's get back to property taxes. So yeah, the St. John's a small city, but they have big city amenities, big city services. We're talking about a comparison between Vancouver and St. John, well, Vancouver's a huge city, right? So let's talk about the city we moved from, Abbotsford. If it snows in Abbotsford, which it does, and with climate change it's going to happen more often, you can wait days for your street to be plowed.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't get plowed, and then the rain comes, and then it freezes, and then you've got nothing but a mess of ice in neighborhoods. Not only that, but for people out here, they laugh when we tell them this, but in Abbotsford, where we moved from, you have to plow your own sidewalk. You are responsible for everything outside your home because the city will not plow your sidewalk. They will not clear a path for pedestrians to walk by. So the city is telling pedestrians, if you break your neck, it's the fault of the guy that lives there where you broke your neck, even though it's on city property on the sidewalk walking by. So in St. John, when it snows, which it tends to do from time to time in the winter, the city is out clearing the roads. They're salting, they're sanding. The roads stay very safe. The sidewalks get cleared, not immediately, but within a day or two. They have actual little sidewalk plows that come by and clear all the sidewalks.
They're about the width, about 2 feet wide or 3 feet wide. Yeah.
And so the roads stay safe. Everything is good, and that's why we pay more property taxes. I'm assuming that if we wanted to pay less and, we wanted to give up our services, then maybe we could. But who wants that? Who wants to risk their health over a couple of extra bucks in property tax?
So when we lived in Abbotsford also, the first snowfall, the city would cry that they've already exceeded their budget in snow clearing.
Oh, yeah, their budget was $5. Just buy a mocha frappuccino for the guy that drives the plow.
The one plow that wouldn't do the whole city.
All right, so let's get back here. We get sidetracked. So the $400,000 townhouse that we used in the example, if you're going to sell your $1 million home in Toronto, and you want to say to yourself, okay, well, I can buy a $500,000 home in St. John and pocket the other $500,000 I get from my sale, you are more than welcome to do that, and it's a very nice idea. Just be prepared that your $500,000 home in St. John is going to cost you a lot of extra property taxes. If you want your taxes to be similar, you can do that. You buy something here that is comparable to what you're selling where you are.
Instead of going bigger.
Yeah. So, and we've read stories in the news here. There are people that have moved here, especially from Southern Ontario, that moved like straight across. Sold a house for $1 million and bought one here for $1 million. And within 2 years, they were broke because their taxes are going to be through the roof. If you want comparable taxes, you can get it. You just have to buy something comparable to what you're moving from. Don't think about the values. Think about what you're getting. Now, again, there will be variances because, when you put the government in charge of assessing properties, they're going to screw it up. As they screw up everything else. So,
no, that's not true. But anyways, sometimes in certain cases.
Right. They've been known to have issues with things. Let's put it that way. So, for instance, for 2022, we just heard that there is an estimate that our property tax rate in St. John is going to be dropping by 7.5 cents. So from a 1.8% to a 1.71%, which is pretty good.
Anything we can get.
And they're basing that on an increase in the tax base of about a little over 6%, 6.5%. Difference is that the property values that have actually places that have sold over this last year are up about 30%. So if you take that kind of philosophy, so if our property values went to what they are in Vancouver, and you could assess a place for 1.7 million, you can make your property tax rate look really, really small. But the actual amount you're going to have to pay is always going to be about the same. It doesn't really matter about the assessment. So, people talk about, I've heard people mention, oh, you should move to Rothsay or you should move to Quispam here because their property tax rate is lower. And it is. It's at least a full 0.5% lower than it is in St. John. But it goes back to the same theory. The home prices there are higher than St. John. So it's going to all even out. Generally speaking, yeah. If you look at a similar home in St. John and in Rothsay, the Rothsay one will be more expensive. It's a little bit opposite of what most cities are, where you pay, the value is higher inside the city and the suburbs are cheaper. Works the opposite here.
Generally speaking.
Again, qualifying everything we say. So the tax base is increased in Rothsay by about 9%. The tax base in Quispam is increased about 8%. In Grand Bay, it's about 9.5%. And all that is to say is that property values are increasing largely. So tax rates are correspondingly decreasing a little bit. So just be careful. That's our advice to you, is when you're looking at a property to buy, be careful. Figure out what the property taxes are going to be. And if you bought a place this year that for, let's use an example of $300,000, and its tax value for the assessment was $150,000, it doesn't mean your taxes are going to double because your assessment doubles. They don't do it that way. They increase, like I say, and prices have increased 30% in a year, but the tax base and the assessment value is about 7%, 6 to 7% higher. So your taxes will be higher than what you thought they would be, but not by an enormous amount. So keep an eye on property taxes. Look for something, if you want to be in the best position, look for something that is comparable to what you were living in, and you will still free up tons of money. And if you do end up paying a little bit more here, think of what you're getting for it. You're living on the ocean, you're living in what we like to call a Canadian version of paradise. So
yes. And you freed up equity from the home that you've sold wherever you're coming from. And so financially, you're still better off.
Yeah. And even if you did sell your place in Toronto for $1 million and bought a $500,000 place here, you might pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 extra per year in property taxes, but it would take you a long time for that to absorb the $500,000 extra that you got sitting in your pocket.
They also do have a program where you can get into it, where you go on monthly payments through the city to pay your property taxes, and so it makes it less painful come tax time. Yeah,
and a little pro tip here is unlike a lot of places where if you go on payments you pay in advance, here you pay behind it. So
that's through the city, though. That's not like with your mortgage. If you're paying taxes with your mortgage, that's the opposite. You pay your taxes, upfront.
You would pay your taxes ahead of time. But if you're just paying monthly through Service New Brunswick, you can actually pay behind what it should be. Yes. So that can be a little savings.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we do have one other thing to talk about. Yes, because it's not just property taxes. Some people will be shocked, and others will not, to come here and find that you don't just have property taxes to pay, you have water and sewer to pay.
Oh, yes.
So, again, it wasn't a shock to us because we did extensive research, but it was still distasteful to find out about this water and sewer thing that we got to pay. Some places, some cities, it won't be a shock at all because you get a separate bill for your water and sewer. Some cities include it in your tax payment for the year. But here, water and sewer is billed separately from taxes. It is a flat rate system, so every residence pays the same, which is a regressive way of collecting that kind of fee. Because if you live in a little tiny place, you're paying the same amount as somebody who lives in a big mansion
with a big family.
Yeah. So that amount right now is $1,428 per year for a single residence,
and it's paid quarterly.
Semi-annually.
Semi-annually.
Yeah, so they bill you twice a year for it. $714 twice a year, and that's on top of your property taxes. So that is a big chunk. And again, the question is why? This is the oldest incorporated city in Canada. Their infrastructure is just as old as the city. So to keep it up, to maintain it, to replace it, to account for growth, it's an expensive proposition. I don't like it paying it any more than you do, but it is a little more comfortable knowing that we came here with some money in our back pockets. And when you come here, which you will because you're going to join the M.E.T.H.O.D movement, please try not to complain about it, because there are people that have been living here all their lives, trying to make ends meet, who haven't made a bunch of money on their house. And they bought a house as a place to raise their families. And many people here, once they buy a home, they live in it forever. It's not a commodity the way it's treated in a lot of other parts of the country. So just be respectful of that. But yes, you're going to pay about $1,400 a year for water and sewer in St. John. It's a little less in Rothsay and Quispam, somewhere between $900 and $1,000, I think, per year. Still a chunk of change. Whereas and again, in the city that we came from, we didn't get a water bill. It was included in our tax bill for the year, and it was like $150 for the whole year. A young city with up-to-date systems and up-to-date infrastructure. So it's a very different thing. If you want the history, you want the climate, the friendliness, the beautiful architecture, it does come with a little bit of a price. You know, we talked about Atlantic provinces having HST of 15%, which is the highest in the country. Income taxes are higher than the places that you're likely to be moving from. But the lifestyle, the money you can save, makes it worthwhile. Now, if anyone at all has any questions about property taxes, about finding properties here, what to look for, you have us as a resource. You have Wendy as a realtor who can take you to those places with Royal LePage Atlantic. We are happy to do everything we can to help and answer questions, as we always have. And I know property taxes is a very confusing subject. It's numbers, and nobody wants to pay any attention to it. It is important, but it's not the end of the world. The tax rate's high, the assessment values are low, so it all evens out in the end. Okay, anything to add?
Well, you know, just an aside that the insurance rates are much lower here. So that is an offset in some of the expenses as well. So your car insurance and your home insurance.
That is very true. And even things like gas are cheaper here.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are always things to offset. You got to take the good with the bad and plan accordingly.
Yeah, and come for the lifestyle. You know, the housing is still very affordable. The rents are still, you know, less expensive than other cities throughout Canada and stuff. So you're going to save some money there. You know, just come for the lifestyle. The lifestyle will not disappoint, right? You know, work to live. Don't live to work anymore. And you can do that here comfortably.
And what it boils down to is that if you're going to sell $1 million home in Toronto and buy $1 million home here, well, $1 million home in Toronto is pretty much a teardown. $1 million home here is a mansion. And if you live in a mansion, you're going to be taxed like you live in a mansion. That's the philosophy. Mm-hmm. Okay. So thank you again for joining us.
Yes. And
join the M.E.T.H.O.D movement. And
we love St. John.
Thanks, everyone.